5 addresses, 2 companies, 8 questions, 48 hours. One of the largest academic publishers on Earth had 2 full business days to respond. Enough time for legal, enough time for an executive to pick up a phone, enough time for a junior associate to write a denial. They produced an auto reply and an out of office. That was the answer. This is the follow-up, a Sentinel Network exclusive investigation. On Monday, April 20th, 2026, at 10 a.m. Eastern, we sent the email. 5 recipients, 2 companies. Dan Norman, the Elsevier publisher, whose outreach we had already documented. Elsevier's Executive Vice President of Global Communications. Elsevier's Director of Media, the Elsevier newsroom inbox, and the Chief Communications Officer at RELX, Elsevier's parent company. 1 employee, 3 institutional communications leads above him in the chain, all receiving the same forensic summary, all receiving the same 8 questions, all given the same deadline, Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Any response received by deadline would be quoted verbatim. Non-response would be noted as such. Those were the terms. 4 questions were institutional. Does Elsevier permit editors to reject papers based on conclusion rather than method? Does it allow employees to use corporate systems to contact independent press? Does it sanction techniques for identifying researchers who have transitioned into classified defense work? And can it explain the collapse of 3i/Atlas coverage across its entire journal portfolio? The remaining 4 went to Dan Norman personally. His use of Elsevier's corporate Microsoft tenant to contact us. The 14-month-old ChatGPT prompt embedded in his document, asking about military applications of a semiconductor material. The contradictions inside his own signal messages. And one specific question. Why did he claim he had been outed by a piece that never named him? 48 hours is a long time for a corporate communications operation. Long enough for legal to review a statement. Long enough for an executive to escalate. Long enough for a newsroom staffed on 2 continents to produce a single sentence. The industry standard response is one of 4 things. A statement, a no comment, a request for an extension, a holding acknowledgement. Any of those 4 constitutes engagement. Any of those 4 shapes the coverage. The 5th option is non-engagement. Non-engagement is what corporations choose when engaging on the substance would produce a worse outcome. 2 machine replies came back inside the window. An auto-acknowledgement, an out of office. Neither is a response. 8 questions, 0 answers. A global press office does not accidentally fail to reply. An executive vice president does not overlook 8 specific questions. A parent company communications chief does not miss a subsidiary inquiry. Those functions exist to notice and respond. The auto-acknowledgement proves the inbound was received. What did not happen next is the record. 4 questions required only a yes or no on written policy. A junior associate could have produced the denials in an hour. The safer answer in every case is no. No, we do not permit that. Elsevier declined to say it. RELX declined to say it. A denial that cannot be made truthfully creates more legal exposure than silence. 1 recipient did respond, privately, on Signal. On April 8th, moments after our previous briefing published, Dan Norman sent a message. He accused us of outing him. The published piece had not named him. It had not published his role or his department. He self-identified by complaining about being identified. Then he deleted the message. We preserved it. On the evening of April 20th, minutes after our formal email arrived, he opened Signal again. He wrote that he would lose his job, that he had a young family, that our conduct was unacceptable. We asked one question: why respond here instead of on the corporate email chain? He replied with 2 words: unacceptable behavior. Then he stopped typing. A person who had been trying to help would not need to delete the first message. A person who had been trying to help would answer 8 questions on the corporate email chain. A person who had been trying to help would explain why he chose the deletable encrypted channel. He did none of those 3 things. In previous briefings, we mapped the architecture: the platform layer, the academic layer, the institutional layer. NASA quietly editing a JPL database within 24 hours of a challenging paper. JPL filtering 90% of trajectory observations before publishing its solution. Elsevier functionally absent from the defining astronomical event of the century. This briefing documents the next layer: the corporate communications layer, the layer at which an employee's conduct becomes institutionally defended, repudiated, or ignored. Elsevier and RELX chose ignored. The gradient now extends 1 layer deeper than we had mapped. Platform, academic, institutional, corporate. At every layer, the mechanism is different. At every layer, the outcome is identical. We are filing this briefing as the institutional record of their non-response. We will continue to monitor the inboxes. Any delayed response will be reported verbatim against the record of this week's silence. The forensic archive is preserved. If anyone inside Elsevier or RELX has information about internal policy on editorial decisions, our secure contact remains open. Here is the assessment. Corporate communications produce defensive denials every day. 4 questions required only yes or no. A junior associate could have produced them in an hour. Elsevier and RELX produced an auto-reply and an out-of-office. Neither is an answer. The only reason to decline is legal exposure. Silence is the admission you can make without putting it in writing. The full briefing is on Substack. Link in the description. Keep looking up.